Hello everyone. I hope you had a great spring break and were able to relax, but it's time to get back to work. So welcome to our Module 9. This module is the introduction to our final writing project. I'm going to go over here. Remember to go over to the syllabus often and look at our calendar. I'm going to pull it up right here. Here we are at spring break. We only have 3 weeks left of this 12-week semester. It flies by fast. This is plenty of time for what we are going to be doing because we've already done the groundwork for this final project. But there's no time to spare, so be mindful of this calendar as we move forward. So this final project, I'll open up really quickly here. This final project is the culmination of our first autoethnography where we identified a behavior, a social behavior that was meaningful. Our second project where we looked to other experts and researchers and writers to see what they also have found or had to say concerning this social behavior. And so now at this point we have a really strong foundation of knowledge, of firsthand knowledge and also knowledge through research about this social behavior. And so this final project is where we are finally going to take the reins and make a targeted persuasion. I'm not going to get too into this here because I have this video. Please watch this video. But I will say that this final project is all about catering our knowledge, catering our argument, our opinions to persuade a specific group of people. That's what I mean by targeted. The most powerful persuasive writings are writings that are catered to a very specific group of people. And the writer gets to know that intended audience and uses what they know of that intended audience and their values and their knowledge base and their, ideologies and everything. And they incorporate that into their writing, into their persuasion so that they can really connect with their audience. And so this final project is an argumentative paper where you're going to pick your audience and you can use any of the material you have written thus far in this class for this project. However, that material is going to have to be revised to fit this situation, this new situation of this targeted persuasive essay, and also this new intended audience. If you simply cut and paste material from, an autoethnography or from an introduction to your synopsis or summary or some way, without adjusting it, it's not going to fly. It's not going to fit. It's not going to apply or appeal to this new audience. So watch over this video, read this over, and you'll have a chance to ask me some questions in our annotation activity, but always feel free to send me a note in the Canvas using the Canvas inbox. But if we go back here to an overview of the module, I also have 2 examples here of targeted persuasive essays that previous students have written for this assignment. Please look over them and see, and I will, let me see if I can get back in here. I will show you one of them just to explain that I have listed their intended audience in the header, which kind of is a little, I don't know, distractive. But it's here because you need to know who their intended audience was so that you can see how they catered the writing to that. Remember, when we're writing to an audience, we don't write about them. We write to them. We write in a way that would appeal to them. And so those are 2 examples. The other learning material or instructional content for this week is all about audience. What role does an audience play? How important it is for us to adjust our content to that audience. And so this first one, let me open this in a new tab. This first one, excuse me, is just a short video that talks about catering our style of writing, our language, the type of material that we incorporate, in catering all of that so it appeals to a specific audience. And then I have some examples, and I want you to study these. These are really great examples of 2 different authors who had the exact same goal and purpose. Each of these authors are trying to convince their audience to act on global warming. And full transparency, I grabbed these from an old textbook that I loved, but they're fantastic. And so the difference is, even though they're making the same, they want the same outcome, they want the same purpose, they have the same purpose, they are writing to very different audiences. And so I want you to see how this first author, who's writing to a Christian audience, a Christian environmental audience, uses techniques and language and references and styles that would appeal to that specific audience. Where the second one, this is the Sierra Club, which is basically a wealthy tree hugger environmentalist group in the Pacific Northwest, and how they appeal to their audience, who are very learned, very educated, very wealthy, and who are very focused on finance and litigation and law, how they cater their argument and make a very different argument to appeal to that audience. So make sure that you study over those, because that can help you appreciate what we mean by appealing to an audience. And then we get into the activities for this week. So the first one here is simply annotate the instructions. Annotate, what am I asking you to do? 4 points, highlight at least 4 points, at least 2 marginal notes, and ask any questions that you want at the end. And then make sure that you open this up after I grade it and look at the comment box where I've answered your questions. So that's just for you to get to know this assignment and ask me questions. Yes, I want to leave. And the next thing, I think it's just a reminder. Oh no, this is the discussion board. This is a discussion board on helping us figure out what kind of intended audience could work for us. Okay, because sometimes when we think of an intended audience, we think, well, anybody who cares. No. It's going to be, you're going to pick a very specific demographic of people. It could be, you know, my graduating class, or no, the current graduating class at McClintock High School in Tempe, Arizona. Or it can be somebody else in the Phoenix Valley, or this certain congregation, or some other group. It's going to be a very specific group. And you're not going to pick a group of people who already agree with you, obviously. You don't want to preach to the choir. You're going to pick an audience of people who need to learn what you now know, having studied this social behavior. And so we're going to help one another generate some ideas of possible audiences, intended audience, who would work for this project. And so for this discussion board, you're going to first share your topic, share your social behavior, okay? And then, this is about half of the points, you're going to respond to at least 5 of your peers and just brainstorm ideas of possible audiences, possible groups of people, specific groups of people who could use this information, who need to be persuaded, who need to adopt this behavior or avoid it or whatever, okay? And so make sure that you do that and finish that up by Friday. And then the next thing is I've included a little reminder to make sure that you get those responses in. And then, yeah, that's the last thing that we're going to be doing this week. And then we get into week 3. And so look ahead, make sure that you're aware of our calendar. Please let me know if you have any questions on this new assignment, this new project, and have a great week.